is Mitch Bernstein of the Burn with Mitch. And guys, our guest here is presented by Fanatics. The Braves won the World Series. It's a championship ring 26 years in the making, Mitch. Own their championship gear by going to mikeandaarondrive.com and clicking the Fanatics logo. Yes, Mitch, the Braves won the World Series. Good morning, Mitch!
I'm grumpy, I'm cranky, I am angry, and I'm not happy.
You're old.
Oh.
That is true, but that's not the reason why I'm grumpy and cranky and unhappy. You know, that promo you just ran with the shirts that expand? I needed it for my head last night because it was going to explode after Soler hit that bomb.
Soler was solar-powered, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap. And I called it on my show. I said, Max Fried's going to figure it out. Surprised his ankle didn't break. If that cleat was 1 inch or 2 higher, that thing would have snapped like a twig. Okay? Didn't bother him at all. Right? And then I said, Luis Garcia, he's a young kid. He's not going to do well on 3 days rest because he's never done it. He's a young kid. He's dealing with the pressure game. I knew it was going to happen. And it's amazing to me how these teams, I mean, the starting pitching is what's going to do it. And Max Fried stud in there. And Dusty, it just blows my freaking mind. I can't stand it. Because you know what? I also can't stand the fact that Phillies fans on Twitter are congratulating the freaking Braves. What are you talking about? There's our mortal enemy. Stop. It's the only good thing's going to come out of this, that Dombrowski's going to make some trades and make some moves. Tells you how, but even so, Braves picked up 4 guys at the trade deadline, and they all contributed. Where is the talent evaluation on my Phillies?
Well, Mitch, I don't want to take away from the Braves here. I know you're a Phillies guy, and I love to see the fact that in arch rival you don't root for him even in a World Series. I love to see that. I will tell you that because I can tell you I'm never going to root for the Yankees in a World Series. I don't care who they play. But let's get back here to this World Series title. And you're right. It's my big thing, and I'd hate to do this because it's such a negative outlook on the World Series. But you're right. With retooling their outfield after losing their superstar in Ronald Acuna Jr., just like, what do you feel like this team kind of feels like a lovable bunch of misfits that really didn't have a lot of time to get acclimated with one another?
Well, again, it just goes to prove that they knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing. They have a system. They've had it for years that is a winning culture. Okay? You can't doubt that. And they buy in, whoever it is, the GM, Snitker, they sit him down and say, hey, we got you for a reason. You pump them up, and they use their skills, and these guys performed. It's just absolutely annoying as crap. But yeah, kudos to them because they know what they're doing. It's just freaking annoying. And I know Glenn is pissed because, now every team in the NL East has won a series and his team hasn't. And then that's a joke. I was laughing at that. But, it's so every other team's going to have to wake up now because, what happens next year? They get their pitchers back and Acuna stays healthy and you got a nice little outfield. Now, some of them are free agents. Freddie Freeman ain't going nowhere. Okay. Mm-hmm. Let's just get that straight. He's not going anywhere. And, they can even get away with this with the quality of a catcher that Chavez d'Arnaud isn't, right? He can't hit and he can't catch, but who cares?
Mitch, I have a question for you.
What?
Brian Snitker, I did not realize this myself, but he's been with the Braves organization for 45 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to feel pretty good for some baseball fans who are older like yourself. This guy stuck around. He stuck around and he got rewarded for sticking around. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I did know that he's been in there forever. Yeah, I mean, kudos to him. He knows again. You're in there long enough. You bought into a system, for crying out loud, and he knows what to do. And obviously, he knows how to deal with the players. And I don't think he's a pushover. I think he's kind of an obviously 45 years in. He's kind of an old school guy, and I'm sure now. And the other thing is, did you see many boneheaded plays on the bases at all with this team? Not really. I know the Phillies would have had at least 2 or 3 or 4 in the series, and you just don't do that kind of stupid stuff when there's discipline on the team and the players know what they're doing. So they have smart players, experienced players, and you saw last night again with the pitching and with Max Fried and Will Smith at the end of I didn't watch the end of the game. I tweeted out, I said, I'm done with this. I'm going to bed. I can't watch it. I can't watch this team win. But they have players, and it's a wake-up call again to the rest of the National League, at least, that the Braves know what they're doing. The biggest shocker for me was I thought it was going to be the Astros and the Dodgers in the World Series, and you know, all that money didn't do a damn thing.
Well, you had 2 straight series for the Braves with the Astros and the Dodgers, where they took 3-1 leads in the series, and the other team got that that game. And it seems like at least a little part of Georgia sports is the hope. We have the 28-3. You have so many different Georgia problems. Mike's shaking his head. He knows them all. He's lived through a few of them, but this one feels like maybe there's a touch of the upswing in Atlanta. You got a good team, or not even just Atlanta, just Georgia. You have the number 1 team in college football. I mean, the Falcons are going to need some time, but
the Hawks look good.
Yeah, sure, basketball, but
hey, listen,
my Lord,
Aaron. So a young kid who's playing for them, Cam Reddish. I got to watch him play in high school. He's at the school that I worked at. So I pull for him all the time. That team shocked the world last year with beating the Sixers, thanks mostly to Ben Simmons, that cranky little bitch. Yeah, they got a good team. They're a good, strong young team too. So yeah, you're right. Georgia's got they're on the upswing, and good for them. The Phillies had it at one point. The Dodgers, LA had it, and New Yorkers had it. So yeah, it's fun as a fan. You just walk around with a smile on your face, and you kind of push your chest out and go, "Hey, look at me! Look at my teams." So as a fan, that's what we love, right? It's one of those things where your teams are winning. It's so funny how it makes us feel as fans, and on the other side of the coin, grumpy burn with Mitch. The grumpy Mitch is here.
The grumpy burn.
Plus the fact that there's no baseball's done. Okay, so now to me it always is like, okay, we're done. I can sit and watch football because I'm really not involved with a lot of what you guys talk about college football. Not a big NBA fan. Hockey, I was a huge fan right now. So it's now 2022 baseball season for me.
Well, let's take your grumpiness into the losing locker room here with Dusty Baker. And we talked about this, win or lose. I think this is one of the best jobs that Dusty Baker's ever done. I mean, he came in the light, in the wake of all of the scandal, and when AJ Hinch gets fired, and everyone just gets off with a slap on the wrist, and the baseball world is livid. Dusty, I mean, you're never going to forget about it, but Dusty almost made them, at least in the locker room and at least in Houston, say, "Hey, look, you know what? We've got a black eye on the game. So let's maybe take the focus off of that and just still continue to play good baseball the right way." And I think he did it. And I think this is one of Dusty Baker's just best coaching jobs. And he's been around the league for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, in reality, when something like that happens to an individual or a group of people, i.e. a team, and everybody's against them, he had to make them really, really focus on the task at hand, which was to play every game one at a time. And that's in the past. It was happened. A lot of people complain that, they're cheaters. Okay, yeah, but listen to what happened. Did Manfred do what he needed to do? No. If it was me, I would have thrown an NCAA sanction on the team and said, listen, you guys can't win. No matter what happens in the season, you're not winning. You're not going to the playoffs. I don't care if you finish first by 90 games. You're not going to the playoffs. That would have sent a message to the rest of the league and the players and the owner that there's an accountability there. He didn't do it. Slap on the wrist, right? So, and everybody's mad at that. But they have to look at the reality of the fact they know they did it. But Manfred was a wuss in relaying down there. If he had done what he was supposed to do, I think this would have been a done deal with people being pissed off, most people being pissed off for this year, but he didn't do it. Mike, real quickly, I see you are you wearing an Indianapolis Colts hat?
Yes.
Are you a Carson Wentz dude?
Yeah, I like Carson. I like Carson Wentz. He's I've always liked him even before Indianapolis. He's not a bad quarterback.
No, he's not. And I hope the Philly fans that hate him, was he great in the locker room? No, I heard he was, kind of put himself on a little pedestal. But I'm happy for this guy that he's doing so well. Now, horrendous. What the hell he was thinking on the goal line last week? But I was dumb. But he's only. It was just. I think Joe Buck said last night that there was only two picks in the last 5 games. So he's playing well. Anyway, I digress to football. I just happened to notice that. But I'm rooting for him too. So it's a credit to Dusty and what he did. I felt so bad. It's funny. A lot of managers you don't see wearing their emotions on their sleeves, but you saw that a little bit last night. He was just so frustrated with the pitching when he gave up that home run at the first 3-run dinger. He was like, he kind of knew at that point, I think, that was the shot.
Well, not only that, I mean, with his age and how old he is, and they're not even sure he's actually going to be back in Houston.
Correct.
So it's getting the window's getting smaller and smaller for Dusty. And if there's ever a guy in baseball that deserves a championship, I know he won one as a player, but if there's ever a guy in baseball who deserves one running the show, it's Dusty Baker, in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt. A lot of people were rooting for him to win, not the players, but for him to win. So, yeah.
Well, it's a package deal, unfortunately. And one of those players, the last thing I'll say here on the World Series is Mike and I talked about this with Jose Altuve climbing up the playoff stat charts here. Is how do you view him? I know he's only been in the league for a decade, but he may have 5 or 6 more years left in the National League, or excuse me, in the MLB here at this point. But how are you going to view Jose Altuve with his stats, his leadership, but his scandal?
He's going to carry the scandal with him. There's no doubt. I admire him because he's 5'6" and I'm 5'4", and he hits fingers. My dad is a short guy like me, and he watched Mel Ott hit 511 home runs, and Mel Ott was our size. So in terms of baseball skill and ability, I think he's great. I think he's terrific. I separate that from the players' morals at some point. And people did ask, guys, they cheated. I said, yeah, but you know what? Look at the reality of the situation. You would have hoped somebody would have stepped up. It's a strong fraternity, and every major baseball team, every major professional team, it's a fraternity. You're taking a chance on ratting your friends, your teammates out. I don't know how you do that, without being scapegoated, and then, do you the players not talk to you for the rest of the season on your team, and then you're out? Maybe that's how it works. It's a tough situation. I don't know that any of us have ever been in that, and it's hard for the regular fan to comment on that because you don't know.
Well, if you ever have, or we ever have Mike Fiers on one of our shows, I guess we'll have to ask him.
Yeah. Well, I should have asked that to Mike Goldstein. I had Mike Goldstein on several weeks ago. He was the assistant GM under Snitker. I didn't want to get into the controversial topic with him because you just don't know where to go with that. I didn't want to. I didn't prep him for that. So maybe I get him on again and talk about it and talk about that. What you just asked me, what's the legacy for this team and some specific players? That would be a good question to ask.
Totally fair.
Well, Mitch, that's pretty much all the time we have. I do have a question for you, though. One last, since you talked about my Colts. It's about the Philadelphia Eagles. They just won 44-6 against the Lions, but I like Nick Sirianni. I know the media kind of bashed him because he sounds like a dumb idiot sometimes. But, I mean, the Eagles are better than I think what people consider them to be, which is not very good at all. 44-6 is, in the NFL is 44-6.
Yeah, I had Jeff Warren on last night. We talked about that. My tagline was it a fake win or a real win? And he's really he didn't want to respond, and he eventually did. He said the same thing you did. Hey, they scored 44 points, right? It's for him. It was all about the development of this team. Did Sirianni get it with 16 passes and 40 some odd runs last week? Maybe. We'll see what happens. The defense is suspect. Those linebackers are suspect. It's a Howie Roseman run team with Jeff Lurie as his buddy. He's been terrible. I mean, just abominable as a GM with making these picks and nobody making it. You just look at how many of those draft picks have been to the Pro Bowl, like maybe one over the last 10 years. He's terrible. So he's looking for development with Jalen and Sirianni. Don't know about the defensive coordinator Gannon, but I predicted them. They're gonna, with this end of the schedule, I think they should go 8-9, right?
Wow.
8-8 until the Dallas game, and then the Dallas is going to blow them out at home on the last game of the season. But Washington twice, the Giants twice, and the Jets. That's 5 wins. That gets them to 8. So they should win those games.
Oh, wow. Okay. It's optimistic of you. And I hate that we have to go, but Mitch, go Braves, and I hope your Phillies can turn it around. Not really. Thanks so much for joining us, Mitch.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me. Have a great show. You guys doing great. Keep it up.
And when we come back, guys, we're going to talk a lot of different sports, Aaron. Are you ready for it?
It's the third segment mashup, baby. I can't wait. A little story close to home here. There was a crash late 2 nights ago. It's turned into a bigger story than we first imagined. We're going to talk about that on the other side here with the AM Drive. We'll be right back.